Greetings everyone, and I have created a new YouTube playlist which I have titled Mega Adventures with the ATMega microcontroller, and I'm going to upload a series of videos in which we are going to be programming ATMega microcontroller. See this one over here. This actually is a picture of my minimum system development board. You see it has a socket for inserting an AC adapter. It doesn't have a voltage regulator, so if you are going to insert an adapter over here, it has to be 5-volt adapter, not more than that, as it will destroy this microcontroller chip over here. As I don't have a 12-volt 5-volt adapter, I am going to use a different power supply. Okay, and then this board comes with a ZIF socket. You can see this one over here. It's a 40 pin ZIF socket. You can insert your IC in there. Pin number 1 is over here. You can see the dot here, no? This is pin number 1. So this board can program ATMega16 or ATMega32, both of which are 40 pin DIP ICs. And you have header pins over here, sets of header pins, see here, and on these sides also. This is for accessing the 4 ports of the microcontroller. This actually has 4 IO ports: port A, port B, port C, and port D. Each of them are 8-bit port. You have access to all the port pins, and then here you have the option of inserting a crystal, external crystal. I have used the board came with 8 MHz crystal, but if you want, you can remove this. This is easily removable. It is not soldered, so you can remove it and insert a 6 MHz crystal or a 4 MHz crystal or whatever you have. You can even use this microcontroller without the crystal. It has an on-chip calibrated oscillator of, I think, about 1 MHz oscillator. So you can even remove this crystal and use this chip directly. And this over here is a reset button, and this one is very important. You can see this 10 pin header over here. This is where you are going to connect the programmer. See, this one here is the programmer. This is the USB ASP programmer, which can be connected to this development board by using this 10 pin FRC cable. And this one over here, this end is going to be plugged into the USB port of the PC, and we are going to use a software tool for programming this microcontroller using the USB ASP programmer. We will look at in detail how to do all that. And one more important thing to note is, right over here there is a jumper which you can use for selecting the programming voltage. You can choose either 3.3 volts or 5 volts DC. My jumper setting is in 5 volts, right? So this is what you need in order to get started programming this microcontroller. By the way, this board over here is optional. All you need is this USB ASP programmer and this microcontroller chip. You can even insert this into a breadboard and then program it using this USB ASP programmer. But to make things easy, I am going to use this board over here. Okay, because every time you insert this IC into a breadboard and pull it off again, there is a chance that you may break one of its legs. So I don't want to take that risk. So I am not going to plug this into any breadboard. I am going to use this board over here. Okay, and now before we begin programming, we need a very important document, that is the data sheet of this microcontroller. Over here, right, I have opened the ATMega16A product page in the microchip website. I will also be giving the link to this page in the description below the video. You just go over here and download the data sheet. If you scroll down, here you see ATMega16A complete data sheet. Download this one. If you want, you can download the summary data sheet as well, but this is the complete data sheet. It gives the entire information about this IC. So this is what is very important. You can download it by clicking on this link. I have already downloaded it, so I am not going to download it again. Okay, but you download it and save this document in some separate folder where you can access it. You cannot program this microcontroller without referring this data sheet. It's a very, very important document. So download these things, and there are also many application notes here for ADCs, for USI. USI is actually for the 80 tiny microcontroller, SPI, and so on. Okay, we will be downloading these things as and when we need them, but now the only document that you need is this ATMega16A data sheet, the complete data sheet. You have to download it. Okay, I have already downloaded it and I have saved it where I can access. Right, okay, this is the data sheet. So as you can see, this is an 8-bit microcontroller with 16 KB flash. So 8-bit microcontroller means the data bus of this microcontroller is 8 bits wide. So what's the meaning? 8-bit microcontroller means the data bus is 8 bits wide. So that means at a time the microcontroller can only read or write 8 bits, and then this 16 in the part number of this microcontroller ATMega16A, this 16 stands for the size of the flash memory. So ATMega16 means it has 16 KB flash. There's also another microcontroller ATMega32, it has 32 KB flash memory. Okay, you just have a look at the features of this microcontroller. Read this data sheet, have a look at these features. Now we are going to look at the pin configuration. This is what we are using: PDIP package, plastic dual inline package. Okay, so you can see it is a 40 pin IC and it has 4 ports. So port A is over here, PA0 to PA7, port B over here, PB0 to PB7, port C is over here, PC0 to PC7, and then port D is over here, PD0 to PD7. PD7 alone is over here. Okay, and then these two pins, XTAL2 and XTAL1, this is where you are going to connect the external crystal. If you can look at this picture, there's an external 8 MHz crystal connected over here. This crystal is connected between these two pins, XTAL2 and XTAL1. These ports you can use as general digital IO ports, but it also has alternate functions. You can see the pins of port A can be used as ADC channels, and then this SD and SCL stands for serial data serial clock for the I2C protocol, RxD TXT for the receive data and transmit data for the USART protocol, and these things MOSI, MISO, SS bar, these are used for SPI protocol, and so on. So all these pins also have alternate functions. we'll be discussing them later on, right? Now, before we get started programming this microcontroller, we need to do something very important. The microcontroller that you buy does not come configured for using an external 8 MHz clock. By default, it comes configured in such a way that you can use the internal 1 MHz clock, not an external crystal. So the first thing that we have to do is we need to see how we are going to configure this microcontroller to use an external 8 MHz clock. And then we are going to learn about something called fuse bits in this microcontroller and how to program the fuse bits so that this microcontroller can use a 8 MHz external crystal. So you have to do this, not just 8 MHz, even 4 MHz or whatever crystal you have. You need to configure your microcontroller by programming a fuse bits so that it can use a external crystal, right? So once you do that, you are ready to start programming with this microcontroller. Okay, so the next video we are going to look at the clock, system clock of this microcontroller, and how to choose the external crystal, and then how to program this fuse bits so that this microcontroller can use the external crystal. Okay, so I'll see you in the next video.